Hello everybody, this is Analytical Survival and welcome to interview number 1 with noted YouTube guest GUERRILLACOMM, formerly known as Gorilla Geek. Today we'll be delving into the world of communications and particularly how it relates to scanners. GUERRILLACOMM is a veteran of the United States Marine Corps where he served as a ground radio repairman. He also works alongside our nation's firefighting forces where he continues to serve in the area of communications. Today he's going to share some of his wisdom with the audience and some practical ways that we can all become better in the field of tactical communications. GUERRILLACOMM, welcome to the Analytical Survival channel.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Let's jump right on in. I remember from your previous videos where you referred to a scanner as one's eyes and ears during a crisis, and I totally agree. Maybe we can start out there by you sharing for our listeners, some of whom may be totally new to communications, exactly how a scanner operates.
Well, a scanner is basically just a sole receiver whose only purpose is to scan and search a large range of frequencies for any transmitter activity in the field. It does this by utilizing a high-speed processor to effectively detect a signal real quickly, basically scrolling through channels in seconds. They are faster than the two-way radios that we're familiar with. In the same time it takes for a two-way radio to scan a group of 20 channels, a scanner would have scanned the whole police and fire bands 3 times over of 150 channels or more. So a scanner is built for speed and detecting radio activity in the field.
For those in the audience who've never owned a scanner, what sort of vital information can they expect to hear from it? And even more to the point, how can a prepper utilize this intelligence to their benefit?
Well, once the scanner is programmed with all the known first responder frequencies, including all the ham channels, frequencies, radio services such as FRS, Family Radio Service, GMRS, mirrors, those other type of bubble pack radios that we're all familiar with, what you would get from day one, even in peacetime, is raw, uncensored intel that is happening in your community in real time. From a kitty rescue from a tree to major rescue operations during a disaster and everything else in between. A prepper could use this information to get the big picture of what is going on in your community and, importantly, how people and local authorities are responding to it. It would also help you know how to prepare for it by deciding how to react yourself with first-hand knowledge of the incident, or mainly pretty much prevent an incident from happening to you. Another piece of information that hasn't been covered or that I heard about was that it could be useful in distance range of other users from your location. For example, if you pick up traffic on an FRS channel, one of those small bubble packs, Family Radio Service radios, and it's some sort of illegal activity or unfriendlies chattering on the channel, I know that type of service uses low-power transmitters in the UHF band. In turn, that would tell you how far these operators are from your locations, a mile or two maximum, depending on the amount of clear signal to static. It would also tell you if they are moving towards you or away from you. More than likely, the users are not using modified radios. If they were, it would have been on an unconventional frequency from the normal. But with a scanner, you could still be able to detect that unconventional frequency with it if it's programmed correctly.
That's very interesting. I'd never actually thought of the scanner as a way to zero in on someone's location, but it makes total sense. You know, I've really enjoyed your in-depth discussions on your channel regarding all kinds of scanners that you've covered. I've learned a whole lot in the process as well. Can you share with our listeners which exact scanner that you yourself own and why you chose it and how it's configured?
Well, at first I had a whole bunch of hand-me-downs from surplus, but when I was able to afford the kind that I wanted, it was a Uniden BC780 XLT Bearcat trunk tracker. Yeah, that's a mouthful. It's a few years old, and I chose this model because you could program your frequencies with alpha tags or labels instead of numbered frequency. Once some interesting traffic is heard, I could look over and instantly read what organization, repeater, or radio server it is tuned for. instead of a number that could be easily forgotten. Another reason, a nearby county sheriff's office uses a trunk radio system, and this model tracks a trunking system effectively, where as a conventional scanner would only pick up part of that conversation. I have it configured to scan all the FRS, GMRS, MURS, the bubble pack radios, uh, including all my law enforcement, fire, hand repeaters, and range of my scanner antenna. I could practically tune into close to 6 counties for a regional big picture of what's going on. I use the scan function on my two-way mobile and handheld when traveling, not as fast, but I could still receive the same amount of info with those radios when I'm mobile.
I'd actually like to know how long it took you to program it. The reason I'm saying that, because I know one of the more daunting tasks for a beginner especially is actually programming a scanner. And, for a person starting out, what kind of advice can you offer to any listeners to make this a less painful experience?
Oh yeah, that's the biggest pain in any of this comm gear that we get these days. But manually programming, it's even a chore for even inexperienced users. What helped me even to this day is that I think will help a beginner is to get a software programmer for models that has that capabilities. You could manage and see your programming more efficiently, and better yet, save the file for later modification. For example, I went to New York City and I programmed my handheld, which I use as a scanner for all the local police stations there. So when I got back to the West Coast, I brought it back to my home stations here without much fuss. But for those who have older scanners, some have a feature called search mode, where it will scan a range of frequencies, and if you get a signal or it detects a signal, it would automatically save that active channel into memory. You could later delete the channel if it's not useful. Very useful, especially trying to program a trunking channel, which is like a different system. Many of the newer scanners have frequencies and radio systems pre-programmed into the scanner. So all you have to do is choose the state, the county, or the city, then choose the agency, which is whether police, fire, whatever. Then it will list all the agencies you want to program into it, but it just depends on the scanner that you get.
I just want to run this by you. When I bought my unit in Bearcat from ScanMasters, they were able to actually program it right there at the facility before they shipped it out. But it was a little sizable fee, but I figured it was worth it because it's going to save me a lot of hassle. What's your opinion on that?
It's definitely a viable option, especially these days where you practically have to have some knowledge in current radio systems used by first responders to program those frequencies into your scanner. For example, just in the last year, all the public safety radio systems had to be converted from wideband FM to narrowband FM. Another thing is trunking systems. That's a whole pretty much job all to itself. And now there's digital modes out there, the Project 25 digital mode. When they really want to explode your head with P25 digital trunking mode, that's just another country altogether. So if you asked me this same question 10 years ago, I would say it's not necessary. But for this day and age now, it is definitely viable if you're really uncomfortable about programming these channels in there. At least you'll have them firsthand, and then later on you could get your feet wet into it and modify it at will.
Oh, absolutely. Along with a base station scanner, I eventually, not right away, but I eventually purchased a handheld scanner as well. Could you talk a little bit or address a little bit about the advantages of a handheld scanner and their unique function, within this entire spectrum of communication tools?
Well, many of the handhelds these days are just as feature-rich as the desktop scanners. They are light and portable enough to carry anywhere, especially if you have to travel by foot. Once again, the ability to receive any type of information about your surrounding location is crucial to help you make sound decisions. For example, avoiding roadblocks, effective disaster sites, or determining how bad a situation has degraded or improved, it's great to have something like a handheld scanner when you are caught outside your home base. To have some of the same capabilities as your scanner, I think, is pretty much first priority if you are starting out, especially for a beginner who did not take the plunge in purchasing two-way radios without knowing what the laws are and capabilities of what's there in terms of gear. A scanner will be first-hand experience without breaking any local laws out of ignorance or wasting money on gear that was not suitable for your goals. My big use or tactical use for handheld scanners is, again, estimating range of other users in the area, as I mentioned before.
Interesting. We're coming up to the conclusion of the first interview. So real quick, are there any last words of advice for our listeners who haven't yet purchased a scanner but are thinking of doing it in the near future?
Well, I believe scanners are a gateway and initial first step in your communications plan and further expansion. You could learn so much just by listening how comms are deployed and used by professionals and amateur radio operators. And it would also help you decide what might work for you without purchasing gear that might be wrong for your plan. Cost is a big concern for many of us. Sometimes a $10 yard sale conventional scanner is all you need, rather than a $500 scanner with all the radio modes not used in your regional area. There's a website called radioreference.com. It's a one-stop reference for researching active frequencies in your community. It's easy to navigate, and the information will let you know what kind of radio modes and systems are there that are of interest to you. For example, if there is no digital mode radios near you, you could save quite a bit of money by purchasing a model scanner without the digital mode. That's pretty much the path that I took.
All right, awesome. Well, folks, that's all the time we have. I want to thank GUERRILLACOMM for taking the time to be here with us. And folks, if you haven't already done so, you can check out GUERRILLACOMM on YouTube, as well as all of his wonderful videos there. And I'll be putting up a link in the description box. And please don't forget to subscribe. Once again, this is Analytical Survival saying, stay safe, my brothers and sisters.